Mm-mm-mm-mm. Should be going through. Are we live? What happened? What? Come on. Are we live on Facebook? That would be amazing.
It says videos. It says live. I'm waiting for it to load up.
Let me see. Oh. Oh.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, it's a delay, a little delay, but I see it.
You see us? Oh, cool. There we go. There we are. Yay. Oh. Oh. And I just heard myself in past time, which is creepy.
Oh man, if only we can use it to our advantage. So yeah, cool.
And I can invite people.
Oh yeah.
I'm just gonna start clicking. Deal with it, everyone. I'm inviting my friend Renee, who lives in Amsterdam. She's asleep. I'm sorry, Renee.
It is weird looking at myself, knowing that it's live, knowing that I'm here doing this, but I look over and then it's like, now it's gonna do it.
Yep.
And right now is when I said it. So if we were playing Keno online, I would have approximately 7 seconds to see what numbers we're gonna play, but it wouldn't matter because you have to put your numbers in first.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah.
The only way this would work is in roulette, but it'd have to be, you can't gather.
Be very, yeah. The timing. All right, so because that's weirding me out, I'm just going to put the little chat window over here. And if you guys have questions, throw them in there. I'll start off with a question. I have questions.
Okay.
How do you find your models? We get asked that a lot. Where does Drew get his models from?
Oh, really? Funny enough, I'm very talkative, so I make a lot of friends. So a lot of my models are my friends. But if you had to use a resource, there's a few different places you can go. The main one, it's an old school one, but it's called Model Mayhem, and it's
oh man, that brings up memories.
Model Mayhem, like it's still kicking. People are still posting, and there's still ways to get models off of that. But really, though, if you're serious about it, like if this is like you're like, I really need models, I'm really trying to build my portfolio, I'm going to spend some money, you can contact agencies like Click Model Management, I know is here, and then there's one Factor, I think Factor Model Management's here. If you contact them and say, hey, do you have any models that are like test models that are just looking to get some portfolio work done, that's a way to do it. Or I mean, you can pay the fee and just, you know, it sounds horrible, but rent the model for the day, like book the model for the day, and then
sure,
go there. But also my easiest, cheapest resource is finding people on the street. Like when I pass by people, I'm like I said, I'm always talkative, so I'm like, hey, what's up? Your beard is awesome. I'm like, when's the last time your beard was photographed? You know what I mean? And they're like, what? You know, now the conversation started. As soon as that smile pops up. And, you know, I just try to find a way to break the ice. But normally I just find people on the street that I think look interesting. And I'm like, hey, you know, I take pictures. I'm a picture maker. I also teach photography. So if you ever want to, you know, sit for me, or if you mind, I would love to take a few shots of you for a project I'm working on, or I just like the way you look. I just want to take the pictures and give them to you. they kind of like that.
So essentially just be incredibly ridiculously friendly. Or go on Model Mayhem.
Yeah, and Model Mayhem. Now it is weird. Like, I mean, if you're talking about the realistic aspect of it, men versus women. A woman going up to every, you know, random guy she sees and like, hey, can I take your picture? I wouldn't advise doing that right away. Because
Yeah.
that might be a little weird. Because then guys are like, "Oh, you like me?" Because guys are how we are. We're like, "Oh, you like me?" That's why. But friends of friends, ask your friend, hey, would your buddy mind taking some pictures? Do you have any friends that would want to take some shots? I'm trying to practice lighting, or I'm trying to do that. Do you have any friends? And that way you're going through a second person. That's how
Yep.
I do it with a lot of my the female models I get. I don't ever like going at them directly. It's weird. So I always find somebody. I'm like, hey, like I ask one of my female friends, like, hey, go ask her really quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they understand. They're like, no, I got you, because they know I'm like, in the world we're in today, I try to walk as lightly and as politely as possible without trying to feel aggressive or I'm trying to come on. So I'm like, hey, go ask her for me. She's not gonna be worried if you ask. But if I come, I'm like, me want to take picture. They're like, whoa,
Like,
that's
hey, that's nice.
yeah. I've had one person I did approach in public, and I said, hey, I think you're really interesting. Like I would love to take your picture. She goes, oh yeah, okay, but I'm not taking my clothes off. And I was like, no, just here, portrait.
And I think that kind of goes to like some of the experiences that like some women have had in the past, where that's their initial response to
Yeah,
be like, yeah, but here's a contingency
and
to
yeah,
nudity. And it's just like, you didn't even have to say that. That wasn't a part of my agenda, but that's messed up that you had that was your first initial brain reaction to say
yeah,
that. I am sorry for whatever has happened to you with some creepy photographer in the past. I truly
exactly.
apologize.
And that's why I tread lightly in that realm. With
Yeah.
guys, go up to any guy and be like, "What's up, bro?" You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But to a woman, it's like, hey, let me be a little bit more cautious because I don't know what some of my fellow photographers have done in the past. Because some of the stuff is false information, but a lot of it is true.
Hmm.
So it's like, yeah, I don't want to be that guy. So let me put you at ease as much as possible by going through this vessel, which is another woman who can vouch for me.
Yeah, and speaking as a woman, it's like if there's someone else on the other side that can vouch, that says, "Oh no, like he's good, like he's cool, he's a really great photographer and a good friend and a great person." It's like 95% of the time that's generally the case, but it's like the 5% of the time where it's not, that we're terrified of, that it's
Yeah,
like that's the part that's scary. So if there's someone else there that can say, "Oh yeah, they're great. Go ahead and work with them." Then that's an instant like, oh yeah, cool, absolutely, then no question in my mind. So
yeah,
yeah, that might be a thing where it's like if you have a friend of a friend to then go through, rather than just being the immediate like, let me take a picture, like that's not. And don't say it like that. Maybe don't start with aggressively running up at someone. that's
yeah.
that's step one.
Mhm.
Oh man.
Let me take a picture.
Let me take a picture.
Yeah, no, and as
Yes.
photographers, that's what happens though. I've seen people in public and they're like, make your picture," and I'm like, "What? Like, why'd you approach that person like that? Like, I don't understand." And it
Yeah.
happens a lot because I'm at cons. I go to a lot of conventions.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Dragon Con, watching some of the photographers go up to people, I'm just like, "Ugh, don't do that. Don't ask
That's
like that.
exactly what I'm talking about. Where it's like
Be
you've made that
cool."
comfortable now because you were so weird about it. You
Yeah.
know. So I try not to. I just try to be bold. Where I'm like, hey, here's what I want to do. I would like to take your picture. Why? I think you look really interesting, or your costume still. If you're
Hmm.
interested, let me know. I'll be standing right over here. Or if it's somebody in public, I'm like, hey, I think you're really pretty. You have really nice eyes. Here's my card. Give me a call. If you, I hand it to him while I'm walking away. Here you go. And then,
Yes.
uh,
That's a good way to do that, because it's like, it's not saying I'm lingering and I'm like really like aggressively trying to pursue you. It's just kind of like, hey, random thought bubble pop. Here's
right.
some information if you do want to contact me, but that's not on you. The other thing to not do is to give someone your phone number to contact you and watch them put it into their phone. If it
No.
doesn't work for dating, it doesn't work for photography. That's a good basis of like rules right there. Like if
Yeah,
you wouldn't do it if you were trying to like, I don't know, if you're trying to like date someone, then then that's just not something you should do for approaching someone to take their picture. Oh,
exactly.
Art, hey Art. So we're talking with Drew about portrait photography and
This is
all the Art Fuller. Hey, Art. Was asking what's the topic of discussion?
Ah,
Uh, right. Well, generally product portrait photography, but right now we're talking about like how to essentially approach people to ask, can I take your picture, whether it's through a model or like a random encounter, and how to not be totally creepy about it.
yeah. Nah, that's definitely it. It's really depending on if what situation you're in. If you're, especially a lot of times if I'm out, when I have a camera around my neck, let's say I'm not doing street photography, if I'm
Yeah.
out doing that already, and then somebody says, I say, hey, they're like, okay, well, clearly this person's been taking pictures. He has a camera, especially if it's like an impressive lens, like a 70 to 200 or something. They're like, well, yeah, obviously you've put money into this. You're not just some dude with a freaking Kodak. What's the thing that you click? What
Oh,
are those things called?
yeah, the little
The
Instamatic cameras or
disposable, yeah,
something. Yeah.
the disposable camera. So I'm not just
Goodness.
some dude with a camera that just wants to snap shots. You know what I mean? So they,
Or
they
like your
understand,
i or just like your iPhone or something.
right? You know what I mean? And it's things like that where I find it interesting, and or they see I can find them interesting because I've been taking pictures anyway. So it's that way. Or if I'm in a group, a lot of times if I'm in a group of people, let's say we're hanging out at a bar back in the day, not recently,
In the
but
before times.
right in our good old days, I'd hang out at a bar or somewhere, and I'm just like talking. I'm like, hey man, um that person right there looks interesting, especially if it's a guy, like a guy with, because I love beards. Like my thing
Oh,
is
sure.
big. I mean, you see the illustration in the background. I love like beards, right? So if I see a dude with a cool beard, I'm like, oh, I'm about to go up to this dude, and it doesn't matter because I'm already in the group. I'm leaving the group, talking to him, and then going
Yes.
back to my group, and he's like, oh, okay, this dude's not weird. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
Or I mean, I am weird, but
But not in that kind of way. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's it. Like it's especially that like not lingering casual conversation, starting with something that you noticed physically about,
yeah,
like maybe a particular, like a one thing that you found interesting, I think is really good to help kind of like lead into that a little bit more. Um, Next question on lighting. How many lights do you usually use, if any, when you're doing like your, whether it's like on location for like your fitness pictures versus like if you can get in the studio and go all out?
okay, so that's a really good question, and it's kind of it has a lot of different tentacles to this octopus, right? So it's, if I'm photographing fitness on the field for more of a realistic feel, I might not use any lights. I might pick the right time of day to really recreate what's going on. If I'm doing it for a commercial aspect, I'm still going to pick the right type of day, but I'm also going to bring in lights to help add in kicks and highlights in other areas, or fill in certain areas where normally would be shadowed. So again, the first thing is, it's the purpose. What is the purpose of the shot? Is it for me? Is it commercial? Is it, what is it? I always bring lights everywhere I go, no matter what. It's just a habit. It's just I feel it's like my comfort blanket, right? It's like my security blanket, where it's like I have to have a light on me, or else I don't feel like I'm doing anything. So I always at least use one light, unless I'm doing street photography, for the most part,
Yeah.
right? So I just did some pictures a few days ago, because there's an area in my little, I guess, area. There's an area in my area, and they have these trees and plants. And I was like, oh man. So I grabbed Shay, and I'm like, let's take some pictures, right?
Yeah.
And we went over there. It's just me and her, right? And I had portable lighting, and I was like, this time of day, the light's coming from. It was like around like 3, 4 o'clock. So lights coming this way, and I'm like, that looks beautiful on the trees, on the plants, on the flowers. However, this is going to be shadow. So of course, first thing I did was grab my portable light to fill in. So now the photographer is like, wow, I can see where you lit it. Whereas an average person who's not a photographer is like, look at the perfect iPhone lighting. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
Yeah.
all the exposure perfect without using HDR. So my thing is, again, the situation itself was gorgeous. However, I needed to have that security blanket of my fill light to make it have that kind of commercial feel, because
Gotcha.
I love to scope with light. So it depends on the situation. In that situation, I brought one light. A lot of my fitness shots, I'm using 4 lights, sometimes even 5,
Yeah.
because I'm doing kicks on the side, and I have my key light. For anybody who's in here or is going to watch later and has taken my lighting class, you know, the key light, the main light, my two kits, my background light. Depending on the model, I might have a hair light, you know what I mean? Something like that. So studio photography, fitness, I normally do 4 lights or more. Studio photography, portrait, it might just be 1 light, depending on the purpose of the shot. If it's for a LinkedIn headshot, there might be 4 lights, because again, I'm doing the 2 side lights, a background light, and my key light. And then I might use a reflector for a bounce. So I consider that like a modifier of sorts. But if it's like somebody who's an actor or something, and they're like, hey, I want to do my portrait for, I'm going to be on NPR on, you know, new and upcoming actors, I'm going to use 1 light
Okay.
to
Yep.
make it a little bit more movie. You see, I scope with light, but I scope with purpose. But it's never, it's just like, yeah, a bunch of lights for everything. Cause then I'm like, everything's not a passport picture. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was talking about that, did like a business of photography workshop last week, and was talking about, I brought up like our websites, your website on one side and mine on the other, and talking about kind of like the differences in overall style, and then how that relates to the clientele that you pick up, where it's like your style is like adding that very like dramatic type of, yeah, the kick lights in the back and the one in the key in the front, and you've got a lot of dynamic kind of like lines and shadows and shapes and all of that, and high contrast. And it's like you're working with like more of an adult crowd, where I'm working with kids, so mine has to be like light, airy, super open, put like open up the aperture to like 1.8 and just let all of the light in everywhere, and it has to be like super bright and colorful and friendly, because
Yeah.
that's the clientele that I want to attract. Where if we had those switched, we'd be in nightmare scenarios and we'd never get a job in a million years. So
That's a good
it's,
point though you make right there. And I also mentioned that, which of course that goes into something else, but basically catering your portfolio to what you want to get hired for. And for me, it's like I don't photograph children. Like I don't. And if I do, they're gonna get lit how I like, you know what I
yeah.
mean?
And then someone's coming to you for that. Like someone says, I see your work and I want my kid's portrait to be the most badass portrait for
Correct.
this upcoming fifth grade reunion or something. I don't know. I don't know what kids do. I don't have kids. I'm sorry.
Right. No, I feel you, but that's it. It's like I would, but and again, but when you have your portfolio catered to that, even me as a fellow photographer, I can look and be like, you know, I don't really shoot that, but hey, check out Sarah's work, and
Exactly.
she does that. You know, that's part of being unselfish in the photo community, which that can be a whole conversation in and of itself.
Dude, yeah. And I think that's something that like we've really tried to tackle. And I feel like we've done it, not to like toot our own horn or anything, but like I feel like we've done a pretty good job of it. And especially the kind of the new generation of photographers, not even talking about our age group, but like people that have gotten into photography in like the last 10 years or so,
Mhm.
really kind of exploring and having access to the internet and being able to do stuff like this, where we're just like not having a private little conversation in the back of like a room somewhere where it's just like, here's what we're going to do for next month. Like, and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, it's like, just hang out. And if you want to learn, then figure it out with us. That'd be great. Like the more people that can do cool collective stuff like this, the better. And then,
Right.
yeah, if it's something where someone comes to me and says, oh, I'm looking for like corporate headshots, I'm like, I don't really do corporate headshots. Head over to Drew. That's his thing. If you got
Yeah,
little itty bitty toddlers that are running around and you want pictures of them, I'll do that all day. But
exactly.
that's out of my element, and I'm not going to be able to do it as good or as well as Drew could. So go to Drew and you'll be much happier with that work. So, but then it comes back around where it's like, then you'll send stuff to me and I'll send stuff to you. And
Yeah, man,
that's,
it's like my work wife, Amanda, right? Amanda Gardner.
yeah,
Like people come to me and they're like, "So about this flash," and I'm like, "About Amanda Gardner." I said
go talk to
because
Amanda. Yeah,
everything I know, I learned from her. I said
exactly.
if you want to know about the speed lights and the flash and everything about it, or shooting weddings and stuff like that, I'm like, guess who I have for you?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because it's just one of those things. It's like why would I try to be greedy and say I'm taking everything when I can be like, nah, I'm about to push on my homegirl, and it's
Yep.
gonna make me look good because that makes me look like I know people,
Yes.
and I'm
Yes.
still a source. So,
Exactly.
mhm.
Yeah, it was recently where I went and one of my friends, one of my very good friends from college asked me to photograph his wedding, and I was so excited. And then I'm sitting there and I'm going, I know that you are going to want like the nice family pictures. Like I'm like, I know your parents, and they're gonna want the family pictures of everyone together and all the different combinations. And I'm like, that's not what I do. I do more event photography. I'm a fly on the wall. That's the kind of work
Yeah,
that I do, and capture things kind of like in between now. So I immediately called Amanda and I was like, can you please help me with one of my really good friends' weddings? Please, please, please. And she's like, oh yeah, totally. It's going to be a blast. And it was amazing.
exactly.
So we've gotten that side where Amanda has it prepared, knows like the layout and the timing and all of that. And then I'm able to do what I do on my side and kind of just like float around. If I try to do all of that by myself, that's a nightmare.
It is.
So do you ever, I guess then leads into the next question. Do you ever find scenarios where you need help from people, or like, are those times where you need assistance or folks to kind of come in, or if it's a makeup artist or a stylist or things like that, when and how do you find them?
Okay, so yes, photographers get a bulk of the credit when it comes to an image. Now, granted, in a lot of photography, the photographer, and especially if you're like an Henry Cartier-Bresson, who he's all about the decisive moment, and he's just out on the street hanging out for hours capturing the decisive moment. That's all him. I give it to him. However, a lot of these commercial jobs that you see, a lot of the jobs that you see on my website and things, that's a team. That's hair, makeup. That's a art director. Like when we do the fashion intro to fashion workshop at school, it's like I bring in that team. I let you meet the hairstylist. I let you meet the makeup artist. I let you meet the art director, and I let you meet the stylist. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yep.
somebody's bringing in clothes, somebody's doing hair, somebody's doing makeup, and I'm only worried about the model. Even the model doesn't get enough credit sometimes. Where it's like, no, I'm
Yeah.
clicking this button. The model is killing it. The model is giving. Well, when it comes to fashion, or even in my cosplay stuff, the model is giving me this stuff. I'm capturing it. My job was to light it. That's what I did. And I'm like, I'm seeing composition. Those are two parts of it that I'm like, okay, and the knowledge of what lens to use and all that stuff. However, it's a team effort. It's a giant team effort. So
Yeah.
with that being said, I would suggest if you're going to do anything that you want to be really good, unless you're just that kind of person that can just juggle 100 things, I can't, then you'd want to get a team. And you can start by literally just Googling, well, if it's for fashion, let's just say we'll aim for fashion. You can Google Atlanta stylist, or you can Google Atlanta up and coming stylist, somebody maybe like from SCAD that's like, hey, I'm trying
Yes.
to get my portfolio shot. You know what I mean? You can Google Atlanta hair, Atlanta make. As long as you put the right words into Google, you can find a lot of things. But also use your resources. The Atlanta School of Photography is a giant resource. Ask questions. I mean, not to plug our school. I'm just saying, like, if I were looking for something,
Plug it.
I would say, right. If I was looking for something, I'm like, well, shoot, let me just go to them. They have people. They do these
Yeah.
workshops. They bring people in. Maybe I can reach out to them, and then they have resources. So, do your local resources, your meetups, or whatever it is that happens around town.
Oh yeah.
Don't make it harder than it is. Like literally, I go a lot of times. I go into, let's say, Aperture Rent, or I go into PPR, and there's business cards, because other photographers, other people hang out there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm picking up stuff. So if I'm gonna find a team, I find them again, Model Mayhem,
Yeah.
because it's an old source, but it still works. But then Facebook, there's a lot of Facebook groups where I'm like,
Yeah.
Atlanta makeup artists,
Hmm.
and there's like 100 of them ready to work. Atlanta models, and
Hmm.
on Instagram, hashtag Atlanta models on Instagram. Now you
Oh my
finding on those
God.
people's pages,
That's
it's
huge.
there. It's there. It's so huge. It's
And then you
almost
just
too
send them
much.
a DM and you're just like, when's the next time you want to work together? That'd be great. And then that's
Right.
an also nice resource on Instagram, because then they can see your work
Mm-hmm.
immediately and scroll
Correct.
through and say, oh yeah, no, they know what they're doing, or at least they're close to know what they're doing and have some experience. It's not someone with like an iPhone that's just like, hey, come to Piedmont Park.
Right.
Yeah.
Come to Piedmont Park after dark. Leave your phone at home. Yeah. Not it.
Don't do
Yeah.
that. Please don't do that. Oh my God. Amanda had a question. She said, Drew, serious question. How much time do you shoot? How much time in your shoot do you split between pre-planning, shooting, and post-processing? So what's the percentages, the fractions of that?
Okay. So how much time do I spend pre-planning? What was the question? Pre-planning. What was the other one?
Shooting and post-processing.
Okay, so the pre-planning part, it depends. It depends on the shoot. So let's just aim at cosplay, since I love doing cosplay. The pre-planning is really talking to the model, seeing what costumes they have, where we're going to shoot at. So let's say something like Lindell Mill, where we're shooting at, we're going to shoot at the mill, but we're going to shoot at this time because, you know, these lights are going to come in, but it's going to take me like 10 minutes to set up my lights and stuff. So there's pre-planning, a lot of pre-planning, maybe like a day or so that goes into pre-planning for that. The shooting portion of it, that actually, depending on the model, it can be really quick or it could be really long. I try to make it quick because a lot of times those costumes are cumbersome and they're like they're not easy to wear for long periods of time.
Yeah. How they
So
do that
like,
during Dragon Con, I'll never know in a million years.
adrenaline and nerddom and Red Bull and
Yeah, been there. Okay, now I know. Yeah.
So yeah, so no, the shooting portion, depending on it is, I try to, if you pre-plan well enough, then the shooting portion is quick. It's like, oh, okay, you bang out that shot. And I also, sometimes I'll sketch out compositions. So I'm like, all right, this is what I want. And I show them, they go, oh, okay. Or we have a lot of reference shots. If we're trying to recreate like a comic book cover or something like that, have a lot of reference shots. So the shooting portion goes quick. Now, the post-processing is where it takes me a while. The reason why is because if I'm editing a headshot, I do headshots on a daily basis, regular. I can bang out a headshot quick. Boop, 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 I'm editing, that's nothing. But when I'm doing cosplay, now I'm like, okay, what is this character's powers? If it's like my Captain Marvel one, it's like, oh man, okay, Captain Marvel, she can go into space. Oh, this shot, we're gonna put her in space. That means she's gonna have a glow around her. But then where is she at? Is the sun behind the earth? Okay, so I'm gonna have to do a light hit. But that post process is taking long because I'm literally illustrating as I go along and I'm making it look realistic. Where would a lens flare come from? Oh, if I had my lens here and it was a wide lens, it would come here. Let's throw a lens flare in there. You see what I mean? If it's a picture of a headshot, it's like remove, shadows and highlights, dodge and burn. I'm done. It's a complete difference. So again, it depends on what I'm shooting, which will tell me how long the post process is going to be. Cosplay takes longer because I'm thinking as I go and I'm trying to make it as realistic as possible. Headshots, those are pretty quick. I do those every day at work, so that's it doesn't really take me as long. Depending, I've had some portraits that took me a little longer than others, but for the most part, they're easy.
Yeah, and I think that's something that, like, once you get into working, is a lot of photographers, at least like when I first started, I don't know if you do the same thing, but I started to feel guilty about how quickly I could get a shoot done. And then I'm sitting there going, wait, should I have taken longer? I'm wondering if my clients think it should have taken longer. Are they expecting me to hang out with them for like 3 or 4 hours to do this headshot? Like, what do they think is going to happen? But then it's kind of like backtracking and realizing that it's like the planning and your education and your time commitment leading up to that allows for you to be able to do it quickly. So not to feel guilty about being able to knock it out fast. That means you know what the heck you're doing and that you're
100%.
a professional.
Yes. It's like, to be honest, I compare it to, it's like, okay, let's say you're a lawyer and your lawyer walks in and he's like, evidence A, B, and C, this is where you're wrong, articles 6 and 7, boom, boom, boom. And the judge is like, well, there you go. Versus the lawyer that's like, let me go find out. Let me go do this. But what about that? Well, what about, it's like, I'm not to say that's bad, but I'm saying if you're lingering, it's taking longer. But this guy, he knows what he's doing. He already hit the points. He's like, I've done 17 cases today.
Yeah.
You're 18. I already have this. I'm done. I'm done. So with a portrait, it's like, hey, turn your head a little bit here. Boom. Got it. All right. Tilt down. Got it. All right. We're done. They're like, that's it. Well, yeah. Well, how come it was so quick? Well, I already lit it. I lit that before you even got here.
Yep. And I've done this 200 times prior. So the 500, or the 500 other pictures I took before this one, I did tilt your head down, turn to the left, and knew that worked. So I know now in this scenario that that's going to work for you. And then, sometimes I'm kind of just like, do you want to just hang out? You want to get a beer? Like, what do we want to do? Like, I'm done with the picture part. Yeah.
I've had clients walk out on me. They're like, all right. And I'm like, oh, I was going to keep taking them because I thought you needed it. They're like, no, you got that at a second shot.
Serious?
They not walk out in a bad way, but they were like,
okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like,
and I show, you know how you show them, like, look at that. They're like, oh yeah, that's it. All right, see you later. And I was like, you have me for an hour. They're like, nah, we got it. Okay,
cool. I'm gonna go get a sandwich.
Right. Great. And that's it. We forget. You made a valid point. We do forget that our education and our practice and our routine is key. It's like you're not paying me for this hour. You're paying me for the 6 years of school I went through.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
experience, 10 years of experience. That's what you're paying for. Just because it took me, like I said, retouching. Just because it takes me 10 minutes to retouch doesn't mean I need to charge you 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm like, no, I could take longer. Or you can give it to the guy that doesn't know what he's doing that will, take 4 or 5 hours and draw you out. You know what I mean?
I think that's hard because it's so intangible. Like it's not a physical thing that where you can put it on a receipt and say, I spent this much on lumber and this much on like nails or something like that. There's not like a contract kind of thing that's that. It's just like, no, you hired me because my work is good. And I've spent a lot of time and energy and blood, sweat, and tears and money to be able to make it happen up to this point. And that's what you're paying for at the end of the day. So yeah.
Yeah. Not that we're equal to, but if you think about doctors, there's some doctors out there or
Oh
even
my God.
nurses that
Yeah.
they're so good and they've been doing it so long. They're like, open your throat. They're like, okay, cool. Hey, give her this or give him that. And you're like, that's it. They're like, yeah. You're like, oh, because they just been doing it so long that they're just
Forever.
like, there it is.
That's it.
They just know. Some things take longer, yeah, but they're like, nah, I've been doing it so long that I know these key things. I know that if that's swollen, okay, yeah, you need this. Oh, wow.
Exactly.
Photographers, you come in and like they're like, bet, like Amanda, right? She'll come in on the family group sessions during the weddings, and she's just like, okay. And you're like, oh, she's going.
Yeah.
Like you just want to watch her. You're like, oh, she's going. Look at
It
her.
is
Look at
fun.
her.
Yeah. It is fun. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so it's just because of the knowledge. If somebody doesn't know, if they haven't shot weddings before, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're asking questions. Amanda's already in there and out. And you're like,
boom, let's get everyone over here and we're going to get these people in this way. You're going to wait right there. It's a lot of fun. Amanda,
yeah,
you're
she's
awesome.
like, what's those people on a plane where they're like,
Oh, with the
yeah.
things? I wish I would have had those. I could have helped. Instead, I just stood there with like a drink in my hand, just watching, going, this is great.
Right. Yeah.
Fantastic.
She's entertaining.
Do you mean to move the light? Like, what do you do? While I'm going to grab more coffee because this is my life now, is I drink coffee at 8 o'clock at night. I know.
I just realized that.
It is. Yeah.
Jeez.
What is your, if you had to pick like your favorite equipment for students like that are getting started, like right now, that are wanting to do portrait photography, what do you think that they should start to invest in? Or what do you think that they could probably cut some corners on? Or is there anything that are cut cornerable? Or is it just like, no, you really have to just invest in this and this is how it is? I'm gonna get more coffee.
Yeah. So
I get back.
yeah. All right. So to answer that question, some gear that should be invested into. Now, of course, A, camera, that's the obvious given. But B, you definitely want to have a light or two. If you don't have a light,
You're done. Stop it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So I was saying you definitely want to have a light or two. If not, you'll be limited to being a natural light photographer, which means you're limited to a certain amount of time during the day. So I would invest. If this is a real investment, like I'm going to go into photography, I want to do this. It's not just like, oh, my grandma said I take nice pictures. It's like, no, I really want to do this. Invest in a monoblock head, portable light, something like, let's say, you can do an Alien B with a battery pack.
Oh yeah.
Or you can do there's a you do speed lights. So your average Nikon, Canon, Sony speed lights, whatever. You can do speed lights.
Just little external flash guys.
Yeah. Flash. And then you can also do a little bit more pricey, where you can get your Ellen Chromes, or you can do your Bajas, your portable lights. Now that's investing a little bit more money, but you're getting more power and things like that. Now, if money's no option, you can look at Profoto B2 Airs. If money's no option, yeah, Profoto B2 Airs. So definitely you want to have a light or two. That's number one. Number two, lenses. So of course, conveniently, like if I'm Mr. Rogers, I have two lenses here that I would say a portrait photographer. Now, this isn't just for everyday shooting. This is portrait photographer. You have your 70 to 200, 2.8, and then you have your 85 prime, 1.2. right? So if you were to get these two, I believe that you will be fine for portrait
That's it.
photography.
Yep.
For that, right? Now, if you, let's say money is an option and you want one lens and one lens only, I would say 24 to 70, 2.8. If you have a 24 to 70, you will be good for a long time. I'm confident.
Oh yeah.
So a light, lenses, and the reason why I use the 85 prime and the 70 to 200 for a few reasons. A, the aperture, you get a nice bokeh or a nice shallow depth of field behind your subject. B, they're both sharp glass, so the image quality is really nice. But the main reason is because the distance. I can be further away from my subject and not be so intrusive on them. Let's say I had a 35 or a 50.
Yeah.
I have to get closer to them to get that portrait shot. If I don't know you, that might be weird, right? It's like, oh, why is this person coming so close to me versus a 70 to 200 where I can stand back 20 feet and still capture this here while talking to you, like, yeah, let me get this. So it's a comfort thing also for me, again, trying to think about the person.
Well, and it's funny kind of like how it gets flipped around. I know a lot during like our photo 1 and photo 2 classes, if folks just starting with us, if we're trying to get them to take like a portrait shot, and I tell them, I'm just like, if you can see my hands, you are too far away. Like you need to get closer. You need to be this close in. And you can see everyone kind of just like, and I'm like, come close. I literally, after teaching for 10 years, I don't have a personal bubble anymore. I also teach kids. I literally have no personal bubble. It doesn't exist. Get closer. And it's always the 18 to 55s. And even with it zoomed in all the way, they're still like here. So if you're not prepared to be this close to someone, then yeah, 70 to 85, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I would do that. Anywhere, the 70 is going to be your best bet, so you can give distance to your subject and make them feel more comfortable. And then reflector. You definitely want to have reflector. Even if you're a natural light photographer, reflectors are going to be your best friend. You want the variety pack reflectors, right? You want the white, the gold, and the silver, because they all do different things. So I would say reflector for portrait photographers getting started. Reflector, a good lens or a set of lenses, and a light. And I say portable light. The reason why I start with portable light is because you can use portable light in studio and out of studio. If you use the monoblock heads you got to plug in, you're kind of limited to it wherever you have power. So that's why I say I start with even the speed lights. There's a brand of speed light that people love. It's shoot. A lot of pros are using them now. I see it on Amazon. It's a really powerful. It's essentially a speed light, but it operates like a monoblock hit.
Huh.
Oh dang! And I know the name, and it always goes away when I need it, because I'm gonna order one. I told myself it's probably in my Amazon right now. I'm gonna order it. But it's just just going forward. You want to get a speed light, some kind of light, so you can control your situation to some extent. A reflector, which will help that light if you're bouncing or anything like that, and then a good set of lenses or a good lens, so that way you can get a nice shallow depth of field, nice sharp image, you can be away from your subject, and things like that.
And when you say monoblock, talk about that. What do you mean by monoblock?
So,
or do you have one?
Yeah.
Show and tell.
Show and tell. So this right here is the Baja B6. It's a Dynalight monoblock. So it's just mono, one singular unit, battery powered. So you can have there's packs. There's different lighting that have packs controlled with them. Monoblock, single head, and this guy right here is battery powered. So when I just turn that on, now I can go wherever I want and shoot. So this is what I brought with me when I was doing a shoot just in the neighborhood, because now with this guy right here, I can just blind myself.
Whoa. I thought that was a glitch in your camera.
No,
that's awful.
That's not even.
Why did you do that?
I didn't know it was so strong. I'm gonna turn it all the way down.
That was great.
Yeah, I'm turning it all the way down now. All right. Oh, and it dumped itself.
See, I was like, wait, no, what are you doing?
Do
that was a total release of the power.
Yeah, so now this is doable. I can do this.
That's yeah.
So monoblock head. This guy right here, and that's why I said if I'm doing indoors, my people in my neighborhood probably thought like something burst.
Like something just like went off and it's like,
Yeah,
hello, there's we're an apartment, blah blah blah. Yeah.
right. So monoblock head. So now I can bring this guy on the stand, or let's say you're doing running gun. Let's say I'm shooting with Amanda for her wedding, right?
Yeah.
I can literally put this and put a modifier on here. What I mean by modifier is like a softbox or an umbrella or anything, or even just a reflector. And I can take this and I can hold it for her. And I'm like, she's like, all right, we're gonna go over here. And I'm just like, okay.
Yep.
And I'm like holding the light. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're over here now. Because it's battery powered and I can just hold it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why
You're
I
not
said
relying off of like plugging it in somewhere and having cables run everywhere. It's a nightmare.
don't worry,
Yeah.
I'm not even worried about it. And which is why personally, like we talk about the Profoto B2 Airs.
Yeah.
They're cool because they're you know the little lights, whatever, but they're attached to that battery pack. So
That's
it's
true.
like it's still little, but it's still attached to that battery pack, which limits me because I shoot in a lot of abandoned areas, especially for my cosplay stuff.
Yeah, then
And
it's
I
not going
can't
to
do that.
be
But
applicable for sure.
with this guy right here,
That's
it's
easier.
I can have one of my assistants just bring this. I'm like, dude, don't even worry about a light stand. You become the light stand, right?
Yeah.
And then we shoot like that.
Bring a tall friend. Bring a very tall friend.
Right. So
yeah.
Right. So yeah, some form of light reflector and a good pair of lenses or a good lens.
Awesome. David had a question. Which brand of lens do you guys use? Nikon, Tamron, Sigma, Zeiss, or what? Like just kind of like, do you have a favorite? Do you use secondary brands? I know you have a favorite. I know your favorite, and it's awesome.
Heck yeah. I mean, if I could only use Sigma Art, I would only use Sigma Art.
They're so good.
I would use Sigma Art for everything. I mean, literally, I mean, these right here are Canon, but it's fine. Because I shoot Sony, so I shoot Sony mirrorless, right? So I love it. But as you can see, I have an adapter. It's an EF adapter, so I can shoot with Canon lenses.
You have the same one.
Oh, you have this adapter?
Yeah.
Nice. It's so beneficial. And
it's great.
The only downside to it is it takes away a few of the camera's native functionality, meaning like the auto eye focus, which the Sony has it where it can lock focus on your eyeballs and follow. And I'm like, I didn't have that in the past. So me not having it now, it's not a huge deal.
It's not that big of a deal.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, my only my thing is I'm totally down. Like if you can find a Tamron or a Sigma equivalent that is just as good for less than the price. And there's places like KEH that you can go on to. They're local here in Atlanta.
I was on there today.
They're a national company. Yeah, I just sent my mom a bunch of stuff from them and I was like, get a camera. She's so funny. She's so bored at home. I feel so bad. She's sitting up in Wisconsin and it's gross there. And it's it snowed last week in Wisconsin.
Why is it snowing in April?
I don't know. Because it's Wisconsin. And so she's like, I want to take your classes. Send me a camera. So I just went on KEH's website and like send her some stuff. But of course, now that I was on there, I'm like poking around. It's just like, oh, that's kind of cool. But they have those lenses for other types of like things where you can knock a couple $100 off. You just get like the excellent or the excellent plus rating. And it's basically the exact same thing.
Right.
Oh, Cassie said it's snowing in Ohio right now. I'm so sorry, Cassie. No, go no. Everyone move here. Not right now, stay home, but later come to our wonderful, beautiful city where it's gorgeous out. But yeah, so that's like but you have to do your research. So for a while I thought about getting, I think it was the Tamron. I can't remember if it was the Tamron or the Sigma 70-200 because I kept looking at right before I got my Canon 70-200 2.8, which is like my baby. I was looking at the Tamron and Sigma and it said that they don't have as fast of a focus reaction, which for me as an event photographer is a nightmare. That like quarter of a second for it to be able to focus, even like 10th of a second for it to be able to focus, it means a lot. It really does the day. If I've got a little toddler that's running at me and I need to be able to like capture them at a particular spot and it takes time to focus and then I'm composing and then take the shot all at once, I can't do it. So in that case, I just had to go with Canon and just invest in it to not have any obstruction between my Mark III, the 5D Mark III and the 70-200, because that's just what I have to trust to be able to do the work that I do. But if you're not like me and you're not a professional and you're not getting paid and you have time and it's not a matter of halves of quarters and tenths of seconds, go for it. Absolutely. I'm a bizarre case.
Or I mean, just to add to that, even if you are like us, I do portrait photography. My thing is time. My thing is patience. It's not like capturing those moments of like, oh my God, it's happening. It's
Yeah.
like, it's just, you know, so my thing is with the lenses I use, it's fine because I have time. And I found out too, funny enough, shooting an event with the Sony, not doing it. It takes
No,
way too long. Yeah, this one, first off, the files are too big. And so I have to I
files are
got to remember to
huge.
knock them down. But secondly, it takes too long to focus. And I'm like, and I guess it's because I'm using the adapter with these lenses. So now I realize I go back to my Nikon. So I
Maybe we
shoot
have a
my events with
different
my Nikon.
adapter. Maybe we have a
Huh.
different. I have a Sigma adapter for my Sony. Which one do you have?
Uh, this is a Sigma. Yeah. Oh, wait,
It's a Sigma.
no. Oh, wait. What? Designated Sigma lenses only.
Hmm.
It's a Sigma adapter.
I'll send
I never even
you
read that.
weird. I'll send you the one that we have. I'm so curious to know if it's the same thing because I haven't had too much of focusing trouble with it.
It
Um,
just no, it's just slow. Like it wait and it goes and it locks on there it is. Whereas my other ones, like when I shoot, if I honestly when I shoot events, I'd rather shoot with Canon, like my a Canon like Rebel, like
yeah, yeah.
T
With
T
our adapter,
T6,
I
T7.
haven't had that issue. That's so funny. It was pretty fast. It wasn't like as fast, like in terms of like tiny milliseconds, but like the work that I'm doing, I'm in super, super low light conditions. So the Sony A7 III to be able to have that ISO bump that the Canon can't is huge. But I'm so curious. I want to know exactly what adapter we have and which one you have, and then
Yeah, I think we might have the same one.
yeah.
And I think you know, it's just doing tests because I did a few events and then I told myself I'm not doing it
Just not
anymore
going to
because
work. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna keep it for my portrait and I mainly got it for portrait and fashion
Okay, cool. Yeah.
because you know it gets so much information and like when you see like the prints I make are like freaking, you know, they're all
Oh,
big.
yeah. Now, is it the
So
A7R?
yeah, this is
Okay.
A7.
I have just the 3. I don't have the R.
Oh yeah, yours is probably definitely faster.
That's going to be it. Okay, so for those that don't know, the Sony came out with like a whole bunch of different versions of their A7 or the A7 series. So I have the A7 III. They came out with the A7 IV. The A7 R3 has what, 50 megapixels or something amazing like
40,
that?
47,
47. It's got 50. Screw it.
basically.
Yeah, and it's huge. So yeah, the files are massive. That's not anywhere necessary for event photography. Not even close. Not even close. Where mine has 24 megapixels, but the ISO can go higher. The ISO range can be double of what the R's can. So you have
Mm-hmm.
this trade-off that's really cool. That's like the R was specifically made for product, portrait, more controlled type of photography. Mine with just the regular 3 was made for low light photography and the type of work that I do, which is
Right.
great. And I really enjoyed that Sony came out with those 2 different versions of the same camera. So it's like,
Yeah.
hey, do you want like super crazy high megapixels with a lot of detail, but you don't necessarily get the high ISO? Or do you not necessarily need ones with super high crazy megapixels, but you want to like blast the ISO into space? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's
pretty
why
cool.
that was my trade off because I was telling a buddy of mine, he was asking me which camera should he get for video, and I was like, get the A7 II, the Sony A7 II. He was like, yeah, but you have the A7R4. I said, yeah, for what I do. I said, but
Yeah.
for what you do, you only need the A7 II,
Yeah.
which can go to ISO like 4 million and see
Yeah.
in the dark or something like that, right?
It's basically night vision.
Yeah,
It's
it's
insane.
basically night vision. So I was like, dude, so that way you can do low light shots, or if you have a higher ISO, it won't be as grainy as other cameras
Yes.
because the sensor is built. And I didn't want to get to breaking down pixels and how they absorb light, but I was telling him like, you want that. My camera is for what I do. It's for portraits. It's for making big prints.
Yeah.
For what you do, it'd be overkill. You'd be spending $4,000 plus just to
Ridiculous.
say you did. So there is
Totally
no need
unnecessary.
for it. And again, going back to like our beginning conversation, being purpose driven. What is the purpose you're shooting for?
Yes.
And once you know that, you'll know what kind of camera. Because people they go and they see what's on the market, and then from what I was reading, that's why Sony is doing so well right now. It's because Sony's not a camera company. Sony's a tech company. And they're
Yeah.
saying, hey, we're gonna put technology into this, whereas Canon, Nikon, these other ones are like, we're gonna give you some new gadgets. And they're like, you just upgrade the camera, like you might move a button and then you charge an extra $100.
Yeah.
And then at that point they're like, but Sony's like, oh, we don't care about that. Our people said we want a bigger handle because it hurts our hands. They go, okay, bigger handle.
Got it.
Okay, we want to be able to shoot 4K and shoot at 63 megapixels and shoot this and do that. They go, okay, here you go. Here's your update. Because it's a tech company. It's not a
Yeah.
camera company.
Like
So
I
that's why.
emailed Sony and was like, I want the same vision capabilities of a Jaguar at night. And they were like, got it. Cool. Done. And I was like, thank you for that ISO 500,000, which is ridiculous, but it's
Yeah.
amazing. And I never go up that high. People are like, when are you ever going to use that? And I'm like, I don't. Is the fact that I can go up to 12,000 or 24,000 and there only
Yes.
be just a minimal amount of grain is insane.
Exactly.
That's really cool. And Kunal in the chat was saying the 5D Mark IV is really good. Canon did up their game with the 5D Mark IV for the low light, and the Fujis do really well too. Kunal, you're right. The Fujis have kind of been stepping it up as well. I'm
Yeah.
loving their little mirrorless cameras that feel like old school. They
Yeah.
feel so old school. They have like the shutter dial on the outside and you change the aperture with the
Yeah.
ring on the lens. And I'm like, I love this. I want
Yeah. No,
one.
I'm with it. I'm with it. And that's why I said, like, for example, whenever I shoot events, I'll grab the 5D Mark IV. I won't bring my Sony anymore. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I'm going for my 5D Mark IV because it's going to do what I need to do better and faster.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm gonna shoot something where it's like quality and I'm like, okay, I need to zoom into this person's soul.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use this Sony. You know what I mean? So, and again, that's why I said, depending on what you do, a lot of the students when they're in the class are like, which camera is the best camera? I'm like, which one do you have? It's that one because
it's
it
that
depends
one.
on
Right now it's that one. Absolutely. That's totally true.
it depends on what you do. If you plan on making big prints, then maybe a 5D Mark II is not for you because it's not going to be that great. However, if you're shooting for Instagram, maybe the Sony is you don't want to shoot with the Sony because I can't even open the files on my old computer.
Oh my God.
It takes 7 to 8 minutes to open a file. And I'm like, yeah, no, this is unnecessary. I'm just shooting an event.
Yeah, I started to take the information where I set my Sony for video, and I've got a video Q&A coming up next week. Yay!
Nice.
This time next week. Where if you guys are interested in that, join then, but a little preview of that, have the Sony set it to the video settings where it has like the super wide dynamic range and start to like play around with it in editing. Yeah, my computer got really cranky. I literally had to close all my applications except for Premiere.
Wow.
And then, but it was awesome. It's 4K.
Wait, what time is this? Because I actually need this class.
Oh, okay. It's the same time next week. So next Wednesday at 7.
Yeah, because when you just said that, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that I'm I shoot video, but I want to start shooting more video with the Sony.
Yeah.
Because I do it with the Canon, the C100. But
Let's
I want to. You said that when you mentioned that dynamic range, I need to understand how to manipulate that.
Dude, it is fantastic. So we'll do that next. It'll be the same thing. It'll be the same setup, but you'll be asking me the questions. We'll do that.
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah. Love it.
I got a bunch of stuff I'm gonna write down.
David's got a question for in all caps, super sharp portraits. We're talking super sharp. Stopping down to lens sweet spot, using a tripod to avoid camera shake, or just getting really sharp in Photoshop. Best advice. So how to get like super, super, super sharp portraits. I'm gonna say the Photoshop one is out.
Yeah, because you use Photoshop as a tool, not an excuse. Not saying he does, but I'm saying like a lot of people they'll say I'll just Photoshop it later. Get the right gear, get the shot in camera to where you can print it that day and hand it to somebody. Because if let's say you were a photojournalist are not allowed to use Photoshop. They literally shoot that shot and hand over their raws. They can't do that. So imagine if you're that guy and you're like, well, I'm gonna photo. You can't. You have to get that dope shot of whatever it is and hand it off. So that's number one. Number two, depending on which lens you use, if you stop down, let's say when I shoot this 85, when I shoot at 1.2, I know for a fact my image is not going to be tack sharp. What will be tack sharp is the eyes or the nose or the ears, wherever that focus lands. There's a little technique that I got from Tony Northrup, where he was like, if you're shooting, you basically like fire a few of them and you move back and forth, because starting to shoot with that Sony, it's such a high megapixel that little bit of space, you'll be off. I can get eyelashes in focus.
I was just going to say, yeah, I've had that where it's like with those higher, like the medium format camera I used a while back, it was the same thing. Like the tip of the eyelashes were in focus but like the back of the eyeball wasn't. And I'm just like, what is this?
Exactly. So you have to be really careful. if you want a completely sharp portrait, you either have to
From
back
like
up.
here to here.
Right, exactly. So you have to back up, or you can't shoot all the way down at like a 1.2 because it's going to lock on something. Now, if that's your stylistic purpose to just get the eyes sharp and then these be kind of soft, that's different. But I would say try to just mind your aperture to what you're doing, because you have to understand that the way depth of field works, as you just showed, you know, shallow versus getting longer or wider or deeper depth of field.
That's the difference between like here at like 1.8, it's going to be here 2.8, still the risk of getting just the ear or just like the tip of the nose versus maybe like a 3.5 to a 4. But of course your background's going to get more clear each time. So it's kind of this.
Depending though, that's why I said distance also plays a role.
Yes.
So I back up or move closer and open up or close down rather. Because if you want to shoot a super sharp portrait, go ahead and close down that aperture a little bit. Because I know for a fact, shooting this Sony, the A7R4, I'm like, man, I'm shooting at f8 or greater if I want everything to be as sharp. And I photographed for a fitness company, and I just did a portrait of somebody, and I zoomed in just live, and I saw the detail. She had blue eyes, beautiful blue eyes, and I saw the detail marks in her eyes from a portrait when I was back here. And I was like, holy smokes, but I was shooting at f11.
Wow.
I was shooting at f11, which gave me all that depth of field.
Yeah.
Now, if I have done stuff where I shot at the 1.2, or actually I shot at the a 2.8 with macro outside, and I was photographing the water on a blade of grass, because I was like, oh, this looks cool. It's right after the rain. Part of the water bubble was sharp, and everything else is blurry. Yes. And I was like, oh shoot, you know what I mean? Because my aperture was so wide and I was so close, I had to literally back up so I can get that depth of field while still keeping that image quality.
And that's why you take so many. And I like that technique of the kind of rocking back and forth is like just in case.
Yeah.
I did like a pet photography session, like a holiday pet photography session at the end of last year. And it was kind of the same thing where I could get the eyes in focus, but the nose would be out of focus, which is fine for a pet picture because the eyes are really what you want to get. But it's when I would get the nose in focus and not the eyes, I was like, oh man.
Yeah, eyes are everything.
That's where I needed it to be. So eventually I realized I was like, I really had to switch it out and get either a wider depth of field or just like really hone in, or just take like a ridiculous number of them to the point where I'm like, cross your fingers. But it's always the one where it's like, oh, I love that. Oh my God. And then you zoom in and it's like, no, that's the one I like.
That happened a number of times. Actually, I did a portrait session with a kid recently. But she's a girl that my buddy I knew from school. It's his daughter. She just turned like 10 or something like that, and she's also a nerd. She's a cosplayer, so she wanted to be like this like fairy sunflower princess. So we did that, and I was of course shooting with the Sony, and then I was shooting with the 85 and then the 35. 16 to 35 is like my new favorite lens. So I was doing with the 85, and some of the shots I was like, oh, that's dope. Let me zoom in. And of course, the cheek, because she was like, you know, from the side kind of, the cheek was sharper and the eye was soft. And it's not even soft to where the client cares. It's soft to the eye. It's like, I know.
Exactly.
Because it could be tack sharp. And I'm looking at the detail in the cheek and seeing, I'm like, that's what I wanted right there.
Yeah.
I wanted that in the eye, though. You know what I mean? So.
Yep. That's it. That's the same thing where it's like very, very rarely is my client ever going to come back and go, oh, hey, the nose is tack sharp, but the eyes are just ever so slightly out of focus. And I'm like, very, very few and far between has that ever happened to me. Almost never. Because if it's enough for me to go, no, then I'm not sending it to the client. But on the occasion where I'm just like, but it's such a good shot, or it's just like, I've never had anyone complain. I've never had anyone, because I think that we are way harder on ourselves than any client will ever be.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We're always going to be our biggest critics at the end of the day.
Well, because we know what we're looking for. It's like it's a chef who cooks, and I'm like, I'm eating something. I'm like, this tastes great. He's like, yeah, but I missed this and I missed that. And I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have known if you didn't tell me. So,
exactly. Yeah.
It's the same thing with photography. We know what we're looking for, especially in edits. Like when I'm retouching, I'm looking at stuff. I'm like, gosh, I could have did that better. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah, you won't see it.
You have no idea what I'm talking about. And I see it and I keep staring at it. And it's the only thing that I see, even if it's like, if it's 1% of the overall picture, I'm looking at it going, I should have fixed that. I should have fixed
Yeah.
that. But they're going like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Even if sometimes it's even after you tell them, they're still looking at it like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
So keep in mind, it's like usually as you're going through your work, your standards are going to be 10 times higher than anyone else's. So
Right.
if you're, and the other thing, it's like the hard part for me, especially doing video, is like I would always, it's first have a really, really hard time letting stuff go.
Yeah.
Like finishing it and knowing when it's done and saying, okay, this is it. Because I almost feel like, especially with editing, there's like a tipping point. There's like this peak, and you're just like, okay, here it is. We're great. Everything's awesome. And then you start to like question yourself, and you're just like, no, there's more that I can do. There's definitely more that I can do. There's more that I can come up with. And then you start to go overboard, and then you start to go downhill in quality, and it just keeps going all the way. And the more time you spend on it, the weirder that it gets.
Yeah.
And then you wake up the next morning and you reopen your computer and you're just like, what did I do?
Right. And
What
that's
did I
funny.
do?
That's what I was going to bring up. I wanted to show really quickly.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can do this.
Flip it.
Yeah, there's a way to do it.
There is. I just don't know.
Here we go. It's right there. So I was telling you the picture. Where's the camera? Oh, it's over there. So that's,
yeah.
So looking at this, it'd be something where it's like, oh yeah, this is fine, right? But when I zoom in, I know like, okay, is this where it's at? You know what I mean? And in this case, I did nail it for that one. You know what I mean? But if in the case where there is one where I'm like, oh my gosh, so something like this, where you're like, oh, her eyes are soft. You're like, the client doesn't know that. I know it though. You know what I mean? So something like that, or even something here where it's like, see this angle, and it's like, I want that sharp. So I think, I got it there, but then there's been times where I really got the nose, and then this will be soft and that'll be soft. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing photography. I give up.
I know, I love those moments where it's like, I'm never doing this again. I'm the most horrible photographer in the whole wide world. But it's like, if you are sitting there saying that, it would literally be me next to you right now going, which I am, is going like, no, it's fine. It's great. Don't just shut up. Like, I can't count how many times I've told my friends to shut up and stop putting themselves and their work down, when I do the exact same thing myself. We all do it. We all turn to each other and go, no, it's great. Send it out. It's perfect. It's fine. And then we're sitting there going, no, and we're not going to take our own advice for anyone. Yeah.
No. So yeah, I mean, there's so many things to it. I call it, when I do workshops and people are shooting, and the model's in there and they're excited and they're firing a lot of times, the same way I tell them, I'm like, leave the casino. Like, leave it. You got it.
Yes.
When you're up, leave the casino, right?
Yep.
And when you're editing your work and you're up, leave it. Don't, because if you keep going, you're gonna lose it. So,
you ever find that like there's this timing with it where I don't know, for me, it's my first picture and then my last picture are always the best?
No, yeah. No, you're exactly right.
What is that?
I don't know, but it happens all the time. I'm always like, my last shot, I'm like, that's it. We just took 700 and that 701 was it.
Yeah. But that didn't happen when I started. When I started, the pace changes as you grow with your photography. When I started, my beginning shots were horrible. Like, I could just throw them all out the window and let them go and never return.
Right.
Then like in the middle, they'd be pretty good. But then, yeah, I'd hit that leave the casino moment where it's just like, I would just keep going and then my brain would fall off a cliff somewhere and I have no idea what I was doing. So, but now that I'm getting further into it, it's weird. It's like you have that gut reaction when you first start taking it, you figure it out. And then at the very end, there's something solid there, which is always so funny. And it's so weird how
it's funny, but it's also frustrating because I'm like, I know, but then when is your last shot? Is the question.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've done portraits of the like president of Mohawk, and they were like, you have 5 minutes, and then they were like, actually, you only have 3, and I'm like,
nightmare.
The big wig of the whole company. They're like, this is the shot that's going out to all clients around the world. He needs a new portrait. Drew, we know you can do it. You have 3 minutes. And I'm like, I usually, with my personality, I warm people up. I joke.
Yes, that was the other thing I want to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, I do all that stuff. But I'm like, I don't have that time. And luckily for me, I'm like, I have poker face. I never show them. I can be nervous as all heck.
Oh my God,
And
yeah.
you won't see it. Then you walk in, I'm like, there he is. What's up? Yeah, stand right there. That looks really great. Oh, that's good. Light never fired, but it's okay. He doesn't know. That looks good. Oh, great. Okay, here we go.
I love let me change one thing real quick, knowing full well like the last 5 shots that you took did not show up on your camera at all. It's like, let me make a quick adjustment really quick. It's like, oh my God, what is happening? Like internally you're freaking out, but outside you're
Yep.
just like, everything's great. Everything's
It's
fantastic.
fine, man. You rock that. Hey, let's do that one more time because I didn't get it.
Yeah,
You
it's
know
like,
what I mean? So yeah, you're right. But that's it. It's really, I go in there and you got 5 minutes to just bang it out. And at that point, your confidence level has to just kick in.
oh my
You're
God,
like, boom,
yeah.
boom, 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 boom. And that's when that experience or that education or that being able to do it for years and then just do it in like 5 minutes, 3 minutes comes in. So you just paid, let's just say you just paid me $4,000. And you're like, that shoot costs 3 minutes. That's ridiculous. I said, well, go ahead and go hire the next guy.
Yeah.
And he'll take, and let him do it in 3 minutes.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm not saying like
Right.
I'm the best photographer. I'm just saying
No,
as
but it's
far as
like, get him to try.
experience stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I've done this and I know how to do it. I can't say the worst one that I ever did where I goofed and just trying to put on the smiling face, like everything's totally fine. I It was after performance at the Alliance Theater, and John Lewis was in attendance, and I knew that I had to get like a quick go-to interview with him. So I came up to him and I was just like, Congressman Lewis, thank you so much for being here. It's so amazing to meet you. And I'm nervous as hell because I love him. And so I was just like, please, can I just do a quick, can I just get a thing of what you thought about the show? And he does this whole thing and he's really great, took like a minute. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. I looked down at my camera, my microphone is not plugged in.
I don't know why I just got nervous. It happened
No, I
already.
know, because we've all been there. We've all known that.
I
And
just
so I
got
was like, Congressman Lewis, that was so perfect and that was so amazing. Thank you so much. Can we do it once more, like kind of condensed? Would that be okay? I know they're going to ask me for it. I know they're going to ask for like a short, nice little compact version. I was just like,
yeah.
yeah, that was great. And I was like, oh my, did I just goof up with Congressman Lewis? But I had to like figure out a way to go, if I don't get this, I'm going to be not in trouble, because they're all very nice, wonderful people over at the Alliance Theater, and I love them to death and I miss them so much. But I was like, but I really have to get this. I really have to get this.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
I'll give you another one.
Okay.
A
These are
buddy of
fun.
mine in New York he had to do an interview of Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh man.
And Seinfeld, it was for a personal friend of somebody else. So they hired my buddy to shoot an interview of Jerry Seinfeld. And Jerry Seinfeld is Jerry Seinfeld. Yeah. And he's like, I don't have that much time. So they was like, all right. So he brought his sound guy. They get into Jerry Seinfeld's private car collection, he has a private car garage. Do the whole interview, and his sound guy never turned the sound mic on. They didn't realize that till after they left and got back and was looking at it. Luckily, he had to take the sound. You know how your camera records some sound by itself?
Yeah.
Luckily, it was kind of crappy, but he had something. But
but it's something.
Imagine that. You had a whole interview with Jerry Seinfeld of a personal note, not on no commercial, personal. Hey, he talked to my buddy Jerry and say like a happy birthday to me kind of deal. And the sound guy dropped the ball and he didn't have it. So like, at least you had that chance to say, hey, can we run it back?
Exactly. That makes me feel better about my story. That makes me feel a lot better.
Jerry Seinfeld to say, hey, dude, can I come back up there? He's like, who are you again?
Yeah, exactly. I just forgot.
So like yeah, Kunal said something. Kunal said something about tethering, and that would drive me up the wall. That would literally drive me up the wall, like where he's like,
oh yeah.
And you're like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if it's because if you're shooting without a card, then that makes it even worse. And then you gotta stop the energy if there's energy going. And
oh my God,
that's a headache.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that has happened plenty of times where I've taken shots of very important people and it never even fired. But on my face, it was like that was the best shot ever. I'm just how do you flip it? And you're like, man, one more time just for other sound bites, and I'm just gonna move my angle a little bit. No, I just didn't get anything.
Nope.
And understand for those who are watching who are just getting started in photography, we still make these mistakes. You try your best not to do it, but I'm pretty sure I've been shooting since 2008, and I still make rookie mistakes. Still. I still
Yep.
keep my lens cap on my camera most of the time.
I have once a year, and Dave, my boyfriend, can almost clock it like every year. I forget something at my shoot, and I end up calling him in a panic saying, "Can you please drive over and get this to me as soon as you possibly can?" I
Yep.
don't know what happens to my brain, but like I said, I can clock it. Once every year, I forget a very important piece of equipment, and I end up having to call in a panic to come bring it over.
That happens to me like every shoot. Like I literally on my phone, I have a list now
Oh
where
yeah,
it's a checklist because I'm like, even though I go through my checklist, I'm still gonna forget something.
yeah.
And I'm like, all right, batteries, extra batteries, memory cards, lenses, okay, cords. I get to the shoot. Where are your light stands?
It's
I
like,
checked it off. I know I checked it off, but it's not here because that's what happens.
mhm.
I'm always, no matter what, whatever shoot I go to, I'm gonna forget something, and that's the
Yeah.
reason why sometimes I leave stuff in my car. I literally leave extra memory
Oh yeah.
cards around my car. I leave a random umbrella in my car. I
Oh
leave
yeah.
like I'm gonna forget something.
Dave thinks I'm like preparing for the apocalypse, and I'm just like, no, it's just a whole bunch of stuff that I've previously forgotten in the past, but I never want to forget again.
Correct.
So it's
Yep.
there, and it's always
It's
going to be
there.
there.
You said you were gonna ask something. You were gonna bring up something when I was like, when I'm getting them excited and I'm doing all kind of stuff, and you're like,
Yeah. So, okay, on that note, like how, if you have someone that comes into the photo shoot and is just really shy and reticent to like even participate, like I get that a lot with teenagers. How do you get them to kind of loosen up a little bit?
if I do I have time or is it like a quick? I got 3 minutes.
Both. What if you have
Uh,
time? What if you don't?
if I have time, I start asking questions. I usually always ask questions. Like before I even get to shooting, let's say I'm shooting a teenager and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, okay, what's this for? Like, what are you into? Stuff like that. Oh, cool, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, bet. Like, if you were to, I'd ask them, like, okay, if you were to take a cool picture of me, or what would it be like? You know what I mean? And like, oh, okay. And I'm like, well, here's the camera. I'm like, hey, take a shot of me real quick. Like, tell me what's fresh.
Oh, that's a
And then
good
they're
way to
like,
do it.
and now at that point they're laughing because they're like, you look so lame. I'm like, I know, but make me feel like I don't know what y'all do. Like, all right, so do I stand like this? And
Yes.
now they're laughing. I'm like, all right, well, let me try this. I'm like, all right, what would you do? And now they're like, man, you gotta be like, and now it's opened up to where they do that.
That's
And
good.
that's if I have time though, because I'm like, here's the
Sure.
camera, take a picture of me doing what you think is good because I don't know. But I play the game. I play the game a lot. With kids love it. If I photograph a
Oh,
kid, I'm like, here's my camera, take a picture of me. Oh my God, that's
yeah.
so good. Can I do you now? Oh, that's so
Like,
good. You take one of
yeah.
me. Oh, and then with adults, usually I always say, I don't know why this always works, but I'm always like, smile like you farted and nobody knows you did.
Yeah, that's true.
And
That's a good one.
they always laugh. I'm like, why do adults and farting is like, when you're a kid, you're like, I didn't fart, but adults are like, yeah, I let one loose.
The only person that I know that doesn't find it funny is Robin. You know Robin,
Oh,
her husband,
Robin.
her husband who's in the military.
Yeah,
He was in the army and did a couple tours, and he's the only person that doesn't find farts funny, but it's only because of all of the fart jokes that he had to endure with his entire group of military guys over those years. So
fair
it
enough.
ruined it for him.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, it all depends. If I don't have time and I want somebody to loosen up, I'm talking and shooting at the same time. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
bet. Oh, the way you look, this is gonna be an easy one. Watch this. Smile for me. Bam. I'm like, dang, did you practice that in the mirror? Oh, let me get another one. Oh, you rehearsed this, didn't you? Okay. I see what I'm dealing with, a professional. Boom. And now most of the time, they're like, that's when they start laughing. They're like, oh, this guy's cool. Because photographers are scary. Photographers essentially are
Yeah.
scary people. Most people are like, oh, so he's gonna take my picture. Am I gonna look bad? What am I gonna do? Am I gonna do this right? So it's like, nah. I mean, I try to let people know, like, dude, this is another day in the park. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, act like you're taking a selfie on Snapchat. You know what I mean? What face you make there? And they go, I'm like, oh, see, like that's it right there. Let me get that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once they loosen up, once they see that I'm not that strict,
Yeah.
then it changes. Now, the only person I couldn't do that with is when I photographed the lady who Keisha Lance Bottom beat. It was a congresswoman.
Mary Norwood.
Yes. I
Yes.
photographed Mary Norwood, and when I tell you that lady was rigid, she was like, let's go. And I'm trying to smile, and she was like, we're next. I'm like, all right. So I was like,
Okay.
I got that shot done in maybe like 2 minutes. We
Wow.
had an hour scheduled out, but I was like, nah, we're good.
We're done. We got
We're
it.
done. I
That's
got
like,
it. Because this I can't joke with you. So
and then where's it going to go from there? That's the thing. It's like, and that's kind of part of it is like, at a certain point when it's done, because it's just,
yeah.
you're sort of sitting there going, that's all I've got and that's all you've got. So if that's all you've got, then that's all I've got. So,
Yeah, we did it like at an office desk. We did it on some stairs.
uh,
She looked really, the strong woman. She
oh,
got it.
sure.
I was like, all right, cool. Versus somebody like when I photographed, I always forget her name. She was the president of Spelman. Um, I said,
Oh,
I'm looking at her right now, and I forget her name because I always forget it when I need it. But anyway, she was super cool. And at first, when we were taking pictures, they were like, this and that. And then we got into her office area, and I was like, well, how would you be sitting on that couch if I wasn't here? He was
yes.
like, I'd be sitting in lotus position with my shoes off up on the couch, but I ain't gonna do that for you. Go on my website. You know
Yes.
what I
I
mean?
was going to say, I'm like, it's that picture. Yeah,
Yeah. So
that's exactly it.
it's one of those things where it's like, ma'am, what would you do? You know what I mean? I could be a little bit looser with her and more
Yes.
real. I can be more of a person, and that's how I am when I photograph a lot of people.
And that makes for better pictures at the end of the day, I always feel like.
Yeah,
That's way more interesting of her sitting on the couch with her shoes off in a lotus position compared to just the typical kind of
yeah,
hello.
yeah. And it's like we got that shot.
We got it.
That's,
And if you
that's
want it,
shot.
you can have it. That's fine. But if we've got time to explore and do more fun stuff, like I
Mhm.
did that with a salon that I photographed, a bunch of ladies who are super fun, but they didn't want to have that kind of almost like typical sort of portraiture sort of thing. So at a certain point, it's like, okay, yeah, we got like the group shot, but we're gonna have fun with it now, and we're just gonna go with it. Yeah,
Dr. Beverly Tatum.
boom.
It came when I was almost going to go
It's
into
like,
the next thing. That's it.
yeah,
But no, you're right, and that's it. For the salon, you're like, well, what is it that you? What are you trying to portray? What are you trying to say? The
yes,
congresswoman is trying to be strong and powerful. I get that. Whereas Dr. Beverly Tatum was like, yeah, I have that strong, powerful shot, but I'm also a real person. I'm
yeah,
also just like a very down to earth. And a lot of like, I photographed the lady from Fabric or Fabrique. Um,
Fabrique, yeah.
Fabrique, whoever the owner is, I forgot her name because I forget everybody's name until I don't need it. But we got in there and we got some really dope, strong shots in her office. And then she was like, "You want to meet my daughter?" She has an adoptive daughter from like Africa, and she was a baby. And I'm like, "Well, yeah." And she was like, "Can I get some pictures with
Oh
her?"
my
I'm like,
God, it's like,
"I won't have it any other
yes,
way." So
let's
she's
do
totally, and
that.
now we're just like, "Oh my God!" And I'm like, "Well, let me get some pictures of her." And she's like, "Oh yeah." Now it's the real person, and the
I
shots
love
that she
that.
loves are the ones that were just the real ones. I'm
Yes.
like, as photographers, professional photographers have been doing it for years. We can get the standard shot as
Oh my
soon as
God,
we walk in.
that's easy.
What's hard is getting those moments, that
Hmm.
decisive moment, those moments that are real. Anything that it's like my friend, she just showed me a picture of she just shot a wedding. And she was like, "What do you think of this picture?" And the pictures of the bride, she's covering her mouth and she's handing somebody a beer. Like she just chugged it and she was giving it. And I was like, that's that moment that
That's
I
it.
look for. I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, that's so dope. The picture where she's pretty, yeah, we can get that.
yeah.
That moment when she just chugged that beer because she was nervous and she's like, there's nothing else to drink here, take it so I can get the shot. I love that.
And there's people like Amanda that can do both. And I love
Yeah.
that. Like Amanda can get the picture that you're going to want to send to grandma, and then she can get the picture that's going to be the number one on Facebook with your friends. Like split both worlds, have it on either end. And knowing
Yeah.
how to flip that switch on a dime
Right.
is something that I feel like just comes with time and practice and doing it
Mm-hmm.
over and over again.
Experience.
Yes, because
Mm-hmm.
at first I would do one or the other. Like at first I knew if I went into a shoot that I'd have to be like super professional and very on point and say this is what they're going to want out of this, and then that's it. And then there's other ones where going, okay, I could probably be a bit more casual, a bit more fun. But now, yeah, as we're getting a little bit further into it, it's the split where it's like I can start professional and then move into casual, or
Yeah.
read someone enough where it's like we'll just go casual. Like I feel like I know this person well enough that that's going to be what they're going to want to have out of this photo shoot.
Right.
So being able to read people as well comes
Yeah.
with experience. Yeah.
Exactly. And depending on, like, for example, if you're photographing companies, like if I'm going to go photograph like somebody at Lockheed Martin, there's going to be kind of like a
Yeah.
upstanding stuff. But if I'm photographing somebody that works at the Salesforce Tower,
Oh,
those are like millennials who are like, oh, I'm not even wearing pants right now, dude. I'm just wearing a shirt because I'm in this meeting. You know what I
it's
mean?
like, that's cool.
It's,
Photograph from the year up. Whatever. I don't care. Like,
and
deal with
that's
it.
it, reading them. And like Salesforce is like one of my clients, and like one of the main reasons they say they keep hiring me is because they're like, oh, we like you. They're like,
Yes.
your work is cool, but we like you.
That's the, yeah, that's
And that's
huge.
it. And that's usually what will sell a lot too for the people who are getting into photography.
Yeah.
Who are you? You
Hmm.
know, who are you? If you're somebody that's like straight, like, okay, for example, two teaching styles, me versus Alex, right?
Oh yeah.
Alex is like professor. Alex should be at
Yes.
Harvard,
Yes.
right?
You should.
Whereas I'll teach you in the back alley of a bar or somewhere, and I'm like, this is what we're grabbing some beer. This is what we're gonna learn,
Let's do it. Yeah.
right? Where Alex is just like super smart,
Oh yeah.
super like freaking no, dude. He's gonna hit you with the facts, and he's gonna hit you with this and the numbers, and he's freaking. His arms are huge, and it's just he just knows how to do that
Alex
well.
is going to have everyone like this and like very like that. And you're going to have everyone like, yeah, like which personality do you want? Which direction do you want to go in? Like you can, I was
Yeah.
like a pipe.
Yeah, Alex is definitely he'll have you thinking like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He'll hit you with stuff and you're just like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that about my work. Like that's deep.
Yeah, that
I
dude
just
is
took a
like
picture of like a flower pot and you just went like real deep with it. Like what is
right.
happening to my brain right now?
He's
And
like
Drew's like,
Harvard.
throw a water balloon at me. Let's do it. Like,
Just hit me. I don't care. Hit me. But that's my saying when it comes to like, who are you?
yeah.
I know a lot of businesses that would want Alex, and they're
Oh,
like,
100%. Yeah.
they're like, Drew, we need Alex. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because he's gonna get to the point, and he's gonna get you what you need, and he's gonna look you in your eyes, and you better know what he's talking about,
Yes.
or else you're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And just want that very much like interpersonal deep kind of connection that you have with another person on that kind of level. Like Alex is so fantastic at that. Alex is so great at being able to reach that level where it's like, I know for me, I'm much more like nerdy, super kind of flippant and weird. Like I can do my business and I can get down to it, but I'm usually a lot more like kid friendly and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. Like I love hanging out with kids and being able to photograph kids, and it's super fun for me. So I'll just be
right.
hanging out with them and I'll be like, what's that? And we'll just kind of be like, oh, that's cool. Oh, I like that. Can I take a
Yeah,
picture of you like making it? That's so cool. I love that. Like, and
exactly.
that's just how I kind of like have that vibe where if you wanted me to come into, yeah, like Lockheed Martin,
Like,
what are you doing there? I'm designing a computer system to create
yeah, don't
software for the military. Please don't touch that. Can I take a picture of you doing that? Like, that's really cute. Like, no, that's not.
Yeah, and literally, I know because I photographed at Lockheed Martin. They're like, yeah, you can photograph that. However, do not photograph this half of the plane. Don't get those numbers right there because that one still hasn't been. Don't do this. Stay right. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
you know, that's cool. Sorry, I don't want to get
Yeah.
in trouble.
It's
So
like,
now that's different personality types, different ways when
oh, yeah.
you're attacking your jobs, when you're finding stuff.
And it's not that you have to change your personality. It's just you have to know what your personality best fits with. Like you have to
Yeah,
know where your niche is. Like if you're really great with kids, work with like with me, it's like work with kids. It's fantastic. It's a ton of fun. But if you can't stand the thought of toddlers running at you with sticky grubby fingers, then don't work with kids. So where yeah, and then it's like at the other end, if you just like to like go grab beers with someone, maybe do like bar photography, do food photography, do lifestyle photography, but for like Food Magazine or something like that. Like that's a ton of fun.
yeah,
And kind of
exactly.
just throw yourself into that world rather than trying to force yourself to do something that you're just not
Because
really fit out to be.
after that, it's not work. Like people are
No,
like a lot of stuff when I'm shooting my fitness and
way
stuff.
fun.
Yeah, I'm like, this isn't work.
Mm-mm.
This is me getting paid to have fun.
Yeah.
Now, when I'm at work and I'm photographing I'm like, yeah, this is literally work.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
work. It becomes a task versus something that you actually enjoy. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's like, so that's why I mean,
And I think that's yeah, that's the other part of photography where there's pieces of it that you're going to love and have so much fun with. And then there's other parts of it that you're not going to be a super big fan of. Like there's other
yeah,
pieces like I do not like Photoshop. I'm not a fan. I love teaching Photoshop. I like instilling that knowledge into people, but
yeah,
I'm not a fan of sitting in Photoshop meticulously editing things over and over again. I get bored too easily, and I'm just like, I don't want
Right.
to do it anymore, but I have to. Like, for some photo shoots that I do, I have to do it. I have to,
Yeah.
but it's not my favorite part. And don't feel guilty about that. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
There's going to be
No.
parts of it that you, like any job, there's going to be parts of it that you hate and parts of it that you just love, love, love to do.
Oh yeah, like me at work, I tell them all the time. I'm like, I don't want to be in this meeting. I don't just tell me what to do.
Just tell me,
I
just
don't
let me get
want
it
to
out.
know all the details. Just tell me my part. Like
Yeah.
they're kind of understanding that now, where they're like, hey
Oh, yeah.
Drew, show up here at 7, photograph people. All right. I don't
Cool.
need to know anything else. Like all that meeting stuff, because I'm not a techie person. I don't like numbers. All my buddies do that stuff. Like I'm like,
Yes.
I don't like numbers. I don't like things. I don't even read. I didn't even know that was a Sigma adapter on
Yeah.
my phone.
No, and here's the best part. The only reason that I know it is because Dave told me. So Dave's the techie person, and then I'll come up to him and just be like, hey, so
Right.
how do we do that with this thing? I just want to shoot. I just want to go and I want to take pictures. But then I end up running myself into the dirt sometimes because I didn't do the proper technical preparation. So,
Fair enough. But I tell people in my lighting class, they're like, well, how'd you get so good at lighting? And I said, honestly, by being lazy. They're like, well, what do
yeah.
you mean? I said, because I was like, oh, well, that light's already up. Let's use that one. And
Yeah.
then now they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah. I just at that point I'm like, well, now I know that lighting setup. And I'm like, I don't feel like
Yes.
so let's just use this. And now they're like, oh my gosh. And I look at it, I'm like, oh snap, that was good.
Like, oh,
Now,
actually
but
turned
I
out really
pretend
good.
like, yeah, I intentionally had a 45-degree angle coming
No,
here.
no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to tell you that.
The light was
Whatever.
already up. That's why I use
Yeah,
it.
it's right there. I don't want to set another one up.
Why'd you use a 3x4 softbox versus Octabank? Because it was on the light.
It was on there already. And I didn't want to take the other one off. Have you ever tried to put Octabank on it? It's stupid. By yourself?
Exactly. So most of my lighting actually came from me being lazy and just doing stuff because I didn't want to think. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just here. A lot of times, even with my artwork, with my drip painting series, it's
Yes.
because I'm like, I'm throwing paint at it because I'm like, I don't want to sit there meticulously and do that.
Mhm.
I don't want to do that. I want to throw paint at it. That's all
And
I'm going to do.
yeah, and I think that's where a lot of brilliance can come from, even if you're doing it as professionally, but the brilliance of the art part of it really comes out is where you're just doing like what you want to do. The
Right.
most successful pieces that I've ever created on like my artistic side is just me being like, I'm not going to think about anybody else. I'm not going to worry about anybody else. I'm not going to worry what anybody thinks about this. I don't even know if this work is even going to make it out there. Like I've still got stuff of my personal work that's sitting in my Lightroom catalog from like a year and a half ago that
Yeah.
I probably should put out at some time, but I'm like, it's just for me. And that's some of the most like coolest, successful work that I've done. And to kind of constantly remind yourself that you're probably going to want to instill some of that in your professionalism. Like,
Yeah.
don't go totally crazy because otherwise it's me locked in room 1 and 2 by myself with like a whole bunch of stuff from IKEA and like 2 studio lights. And yeah, and it gets crazy in there. Don't go in there.
But just to piggyback on that though, the craziness and the laziness leads to my new inventions to go forward. So it's not that I'm just crazy and lazy on everything. It's like
Yeah,
I was, but now that worked and I have it in my brain stored. And it's
exactly.
kind of like that's how for those who drink, that's how drinks were made. They're like, this one's good, you know what I
It's
mean?
great.
But now you're not just at the bar mixing. You're like, no, that combination worked. So I'm saving that, and that's now called a Long Island.
Yeah.
This combination worked, and now I'm saving that, and that's called a Tequila Sunrise. This combination worked. So with my lighting going forward, I was like, no, my craziness and my laziness ended up getting me this lighting set up because those lights were already up, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna use that.
Mhm.
Oh snap! I have a new 3-point light setup.
It's like, actually, that was
Saved.
really good. It's like sometimes if you don't like a lot right now, if you don't have like your favorite stuff in the house and to eat and you kind of like start throwing stuff together, like I've made like 2 new favorite foods. And I'm just like, I actually really like that. That's good. And that was
That's
just
exactly
stuff left over in my house because I didn't want to go and brave the grocery store.
right, and that's but now those discoveries have become new inventions,
Yeah.
and that's what I meant. Like the craziness and stuff is just the beginning. But
Hmm.
once you have it, it's stored. And now what else I'm gonna do crazy? Like I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna use this lens and I'm gonna do this. Oh, that worked. Now I know in my brain. And people who are getting into photography, or if you're already into it, write things down. Draw for lighting. Draw some of your setup that worked. I tell people when I'm doing the lighting workshops, I tell them I'm like, no, back up and take a full shot on your phone of this lighting setup,
Yes. Put it
so
on your
you
phone.
know. Mm-hmm.
So
So
you
you
can have
know.
your camera on one side and then your phone's on the other, just sitting there going like, oh, okay, so this one here and that one there.
Yeah, you know how many times I was in studio shooting, and one light didn't fire, and I looked at the shot and I was like, turn that one off. turn it off.
Actually, it's kind of cool. Don't
And
refire.
now I have that accident.
Yeah.
And now I know I'm removing that and it creates this. So things like that where you're like,
Mhm.
things happen, laziness, craziness, and you go, now I'm storing that in my hard drive and I have it for next time. So when you do go to clients, you're like, what feel are you going for? Oh, I really like these shots on your website. Okay, I know how to do that.
Cool.
That was this lighting setup. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, oh, cool. I did that one by accident. You don't tell them that, but it's like, I did that one by accident. So we'll do that one. That's great. Glad it works
Right.
out. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah. Amanda said she's going to do a back alley workshop, lighting workshop with me.
Let's do it. We'll have to pick one. It's not terribly sketchy.
Well, we'll go to Buckhead.
Oh yeah, we'll do. Yeah, theirs are like back alley light or something.
Unless now, if I bring Alex with me, I'll go to like Little Five or Virginia Highlands. If I go with Alex,
Yeah.
he'll look at people really sternly, like
No.
they
Oh my
ain't gonna
God.
play. Alex said he ain't play. Plus he he did the whole the thing he did with the music. So
Soul Food
Alex,
Cypher. Yeah.
yeah, Alex can handle himself.
Powerhouse.
I think I seen him literally wrestle a tiger in College Park because it got loose.
Was he on Tiger King?
No, they took that scene
Oh,
out.
okay.
They said that one was too real. They said Alex was a
That
little
was
bit.
one of the ones that got burned
Yeah, Alex took
in
the
the
tiger down.
fire.
And he took the tiger down while looking at the camera. So he wasn't even looking at the tiger. He was just doing his stuff, looking at the camera.
And then it got scared and ran away.
I love Alex.
We're gonna have to show this. Alex is actually going to be joining us next Thursday. So if you guys are wondering of like stuff that's coming up, I'll kind of tell you. But me and Amanda, or no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be here for Amanda's tomorrow. Drew, do you want to do this with Amanda tomorrow?
What's tomorrow?
Tomorrow, Amanda's going to be doing the live shot. I want this to refocus, please. Thank you. I'm here. Amanda's going to be doing this, but I have a workshop at the same time. So
If it's at 7, I think I have. I gotta check a time, but I think I might have a meeting at
okay.
7. Everything is meetings now for all digital.
I know. It's like we're all just here. This is the box. This is my world. It literally like I can't go beyond this wall here. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the times we're in now, it's kind of crazy and enlightening. And unfortunately, a lot of people have lost their lives, and a lot of people are in a real bad situation. But it did also clean up the environment a lot because we're not outside, and B, it let us know a lot of technology that we should have been using anyway.
Yeah.
And pushing us forward. So this is like for me at the evolution of people where we're like, okay, what's the next steps? How we have to do things?
Yeah.
And how we evolve.
Well, I'm excited. It's like I know we've been talking about taking ASoP online for a while now. Like we kind of been experimenting and seeing what the options are, but this just kind of like threw us into the fire and said, you're going to have to figure it out. Like this is just it now. You don't have time and just do it. So we're going to continue doing stuff like this. I'm excited to be able to still do stuff like this, even beyond everything else. But it's just we got thrown into it pretty crazily and had to figure it out.
But the benefit also too, and I know we're wrapping up. The benefit of it too is that the people who are in different states or the people who are in different states that can't make the class, they can now join.
That's been the coolest thing. We've had a lot of students that have moved away that came back and were like, even international students that like had to move back to the country and just being like, oh, I can take a workshop again. It's like, yeah, it's like that's been the coolest part. And
it's not like a YouTube video. It's like live. Like
we're here.
Talking.
Hi, I'm right here.
Yeah. So that's the cool thing about it.
Oh, Allison. Hey, Allison.
Baby mama Allison?
Allison Jarek. Yeah.
Yeah, baby mama.
Do you do your portraiture drawing and portraiture and form? Do you see them as being connected anyway? Each other? Oh, to inform each other. Sorry. Do you and your portraiture drawing and photography, do they kind of cross over with each other? Because you do illustration and then you do photography, but do you find any crossover in them?
Yeah. Yes. In a way. Actually, that's how I got into photography is because in undergrad in illustration, I used to go up to the photo department and I would always try to photograph for reference for my drawings.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I literally was like, I need to be here all the time. So I kind of lied in the cave. And I was like, yeah, no, I said, I was like, can I work here? And they were like, yeah, do you know how to use this stuff? I'm like, yeah, I've been using it for years. I never touched it. So I got into the photo studio and I started practicing again, laziness and craziness, playing around with stuff. And it got to the point where my portraits that I was taking were good enough that I didn't want to draw them, right?
Yeah.
So now it's like I'm looking for those off moments or those other things, those people when they make crazy faces and things. That's what I want to draw.
Yep.
The portraits I take I love the way that I photograph that. However, a big part of the way I light my photographs comes from how I draw.
Yep.
So I have to see light artificially in my brain, and then I'm like, oh well, that translates to now. I'm like, okay, there's a light coming here. It's going to create like office here, Rembrandt shadow going on there. But I would have to illustrate that. So now that's how I can light in real life. I'm like, oh well, shit, I want to recreate that.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm drawing now, it flips. So here's a good one. So it flips to where if I'm looking at a drawing, the lighting now has to match I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, yeah.
So the lighting
Awesome.
has to match if it was in real. So like highlights on the cheekbones and the forehead, different things like that.
Yep.
So if I don't see that in the drawing, I'm like, this is not realistic. Before it was like recreate the photo. Now it's like the drawing has to look as if there was no photo. It's like, where's your light source coming from? And I literally sometimes still do that exercise where I'll draw a circle and I'm like, where's my light source? It's up here. And I'll shade in my shadows and put my highlights. And I'm like, okay, so now when I move this sphere, it's no longer a 2D image, a sphere onto my real life 3D, 4D person. Yeah. I light them that way.
Yeah. And even doing like the old school stuff that we did in college, where it's just taking like a ball and putting a clamp light on it or something, and then moving it around just to see like, what does it look like if I put it over here? We did that for drawing, but that informed my photography a lot. Like just being able to go, oh wait, that looked cool. Can I just put that right there and do that?
Now you see what I'm talking about. So the drawing, because I would light artificially in my drawing, it translated to real life. Like, well, okay, well, shoot, I'm gonna put a light here in real life. And I'm like, oh, that's it.
That did it. Yeah.
So now if I'm drawing something like if I have like a creature or a monster or something that I'm drawing, I have to do the same thing where I'm like, okay, dude, where's this light source coming from?
Yeah.
Let me see if I have one. Yeah, so something like this, right? So if I'm doing something like this, which doesn't really exist, I have to then say, okay, where's the light source coming from?
Yeah.
And then when I'm doing the highlights and shadows, it has to match that. So photography, to answer Allison's question, they help each other. They do help each other.
For sure. Just kind of like fold into each other, one into the other. Yeah.
They have to match essentially. Because I'm like, dude, you know how to light in real life, so your drawings shouldn't be any different.
Exactly. It's like, you know what this would look like if it were here.
Exactly. You know what it looked like if it were here. That's the perfect way to put it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, so couple of things that we've got coming up. Amanda's is tomorrow, Ask a Wedding Photographer, and we'll be going over different like wedding photography techniques and fun stuff like that. But of course we can kind of go off on random tangents like we did here. Well, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see where it goes. I'm going to be in a workshop tomorrow, but if you realize that you don't have a meeting and want to join Amanda tomorrow, that'd be awesome. Otherwise, I think Kahaya is going to join as well. So Kahaya will be there, kind of moderating and asking questions and all that good stuff. I miss her. I miss you guys. I miss all of you guys. I want this to be over. Okay. That was just my moment. I have 3 of those a day. I have 3 little like moments a day, and that was my 3rd one. And I did it at 9 o'clock at night. That's not bad. That's a pretty good day.
You mean human contact? Yeah. We all do.
With me, with the video, Ask a Videographer is going to be next Wednesday, same time. 7 to 9, and then Alex is going to be on Thursday, 7 to 9. So check them out. We're going to be here. I think this works really well on Facebook. I think Facebook is going to work a little bit better than YouTube. So we're just going to stick with Facebook. Like I said, we're new to this and we're trying to figure it out. We kind of know what
also everybody can share. This can be shared with everybody else's friends and stuff.
That's true. That's true. YouTube is just kind of there. And we have more of a Facebook presence than a YouTube presence. So we'll do it on here from here on out. Cool. Sounds good. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. And it was fun to see some of you guys pop up in here. That's so cool. I miss all of you. I miss you guys so much. And Stay in
Yeah.
touch. Hey, check out our website. We got a whole bunch of crazy workshops going on. So if you're sitting at home and you're bored and you want something to do, we literally have something going on almost every single day for the next 2 weeks. And we posted our June classes that will be here at the school, God willing, knock on all the wood, which I'm so excited about. So people will be back here at the school in a month and a half.
Hmm. Nice.
Yes, I'm very excited about it. But until then, we have a ton of stuff going on online. We are jam-packed with workshops. So come check them out, hang out. We're going to be back here tomorrow with Amanda. And yeah, see you guys then. Thank you, Drew. Appreciate
Yeah.
it. This is fun. Want to do it
Yeah.
again.
A lot of fun. I'm really fired up. And my dog's been scratching at the door to come in. And
Oh,
I'm like, he just wants to be where he thinks action is.
oh yeah. This has been the most confusing time for my dog because he doesn't understand why Dave is home all the time. And he doesn't understand who we keep talking to that's not him.
Yeah.
He gets really frustrated by it.
Yeah.
All right. Miss you guys.
All
I'll
right.
talk to you later.
All
Have a good
right.
night.
Yeah.
Bye.